Hit it. All right, we're here today to talk a little bit about the TWS, pre-service, student teaching, and then during our first year of teaching. And we have two people who have volunteered to help us. Do you each want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about where you're teaching and what levels?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Hi, my name is Bobby Meyer. I graduated in December of 2008 from UNI, and I am now a second grade teacher at Hoover Elementary in Council Bluffs, Iowa.
And my name is Crystal Collins. I graduated from UNI May of 2009, and I currently teach social science at Thomas Jefferson High School in Council Bluffs.
All right, if you could begin and talk a little bit about your experience on campus at UNI with assessment and with the teacher work sample. What was your experience?
Up until the teacher work sample and starting to begin it in my level 2 and level 3, I oftentimes felt that I was only planning a single lesson and I didn't see how they tied together and tied into a formal focus. But once you started to do those, you saw that you were planning these lessons to meet an assessment or to meet a standard or an objective. And so it started to make my planning much more purposeful than it ever was before.
And I would agree with Bobby as well. I had a fantastic level 3 cooperating teacher who made me do much more than was the minimum requirement. And so I did almost a full unit during my level 3, and I did also have that experience with learning how to plan something more than just one lesson at a time. And also the level 3 teacher work sample helped put into focus for me how important assessment was and how I could teach all day, but it was how well are the students learning what I'm teaching that's what's really important. And so I got a lot of that experience from my level 3 teacher work sample.
How about student teaching? A lot of people think that it's too stressful to do such a big work product during student teaching. What do you think? How did the TWS help you or not during your student teaching?
Doing the teacher work sample during student teaching, when it's first presented, it seems very daunting. However, if you take it piece by piece and you're willing to manage your time, it really isn't too bad. Also, if you are presented to your cooperating teacher early enough, they're able to work with you so it fits into a unit of study that they would already be doing at that school at that grade level anyway. And so you're able to get support. But as a student teacher preparing to be a professional, it makes you look at the population of students that you'll be working with and realizing how important it is to plan to meet their needs. It lets you know if you'll need to differentiate anything, but most importantly, it has you backwards designed. So you're no longer teaching just to fill a day, but you're teaching, like Crystal said, to meet different standards and to have an assessment, because the reality of teaching once you get out into the field is that that is what you are planning your curriculum around, is those baseline objectives that you're expected to meet at a grade level.
Yeah, and it definitely was stressful. I'm not going to lie and say that the teacher work sample was not a stressful proposition. However, I did like, at the end of it all, I did like that I did the teacher work sample because it held me accountable during student teaching. It had me looking at district standards because I was a student teacher. I was not a teacher in the district. And so I did go and do research, and I did look up standards and make sure my lessons were fitting with the standards. I did do constant reflection during that all through my student teaching, but especially then. And so it did hold me accountable, and I'm glad that I did it.
You did it during your first 8 weeks, and then you went to another experience. How did it affect your second experience during student teaching?
Well, we had the practice after.
Auto power off.
Is it? Can you move? It's still.
Okay, go ahead.
It's still recording.
Okay.
Okay. Because we did the teacher work sample during our first experience, then at the point of my second experience, I was practiced, and I pretty much.
Okay, how did you you finished the teacher work sample during your first 8 weeks. How did it affect your practice during your second experience, the second 8 weeks of student teaching?
Okay, I think that doing the teacher work sample during that first semester then gave me the confidence to go to my second semester, or excuse me, my second placement, and continue to do exactly what I did during the teacher work sample without it being graded. So it gave me that extra practice, and then also because that teacher work sample was out of the way, then I really got to delve into the content and try new things, and see what was going to work and what wasn't going to work too.
What I found too is by my second experience, I was starting to think about the job market. And so having that teacher experience and getting to know that vocabulary and that language better prepared me to start interviewing, and it structured the answers to my questions better because I had a more well-rounded answers, because having done that assessment experience, that was a lot of times what principals were looking for, was your philosophy and your beliefs, and I was able to communicate that because I had had that experience.
And how has it affected you during your first year of teaching? The assessment, teacher work sample assessment, all of that.
I think once I went into my first year of teaching, you have this reality hit that you may have all of these great ideas and you may have things that you're really excited about doing, but they have to fit with something. And so the teacher work sample made it so that I was looking at my students. It made me look at the community I was working in and the different needs that I would be meeting, but ultimately made me look at, these are the benchmarks that I have to hit for my district. These are the 3 mid-year assessments that I have coming in December. How am I going to get there? And so I use that same concept to backwards design, that we are never doing busy work. Everything that we do is purposeful. It's meant to get us to the point where we need to, and that's just how the teacher work sample is designed as well.
Mm-hmm. And kind of fitting in with what Bobby said, I think my first year would have been a lot more stressful than it is if I hadn't had the experience of the teacher work sample, because I knew coming into it, okay, I need to think about the context of where my students are coming from. I need to be considering how I'm going to assess my students right from the beginning. I need to be looking at the district curriculum and the national standards right away. So there was no surprise there. It wasn't just like I was thrown in with no experience at all. I had a good base knowledge of what I needed to do once I got there.
We've both discussed how the teacher work sample causes you to be a very reflective teacher as well, and that's definitely a learned skill, but by the time that you are to your first year of teaching, you have been reflecting all throughout. You're starting at the university level, going through student teaching, and so as a teacher now, that comes very naturally, and it's something that I do without thinking and without being intentional about it.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. It's become a habit almost.
This is going to be presented to a group of teacher educators. Any suggestions or thoughts for them?
Good luck. It may don't shy away from it at first. Go ahead and tackle it head on, because you don't want to leave it till the last minute when you're student teaching. And so make sure that right away when you get started that you present it to your cooperating teacher, get an idea in place. That way you can take it piece by piece and have it finished by the time you need to without much stress.
And don't worry if you feel stressed, because everybody does. And coming from an opposite side of that, I would say it's a doable thing. If you don't get it done right away, it is still doable. And to teacher educators, I would say, because it is such a daunting paper, I would say maybe present it in steps and have each step checked along the way, possibly, and that would help take the stress off.
Thank you very much.